Hello folks, in this video I'm going to tell you or show you how you can help with the docs, or the documentation for the Trongate framework. Now if you go to the website, at least right now, we do have the documentation here, but it's not really up to standard. The tonality is not really appropriate for documentation, you know, welcome to the revolution and all of that. It's just not the type of tone that people would expect from documentation, and I take the blame. But the other issue is that these docs here are somewhat incomplete. One of the challenges with documentation, by the way, is that when you describe something, so let's say you're gonna, I don't know, do something like passing views into templates, right? One of the challenges is that when you're discussing a process, usually you talk about how to load a file or how to invoke a module or a method or something. And I'm not really running into these problems on this example here, randomly chosen. But usually you have to sort of sidetrack and explain how the thing works. So imagine a typical, let's say, form handling situation where somebody fills out a form, submits the form, then validation happens, then gets added to the database. That process usually takes about 3 or 4 pages of text to explain. I say usually because I've looked at what other frameworks are doing. And it's not because it's difficult, it's just because there's a lot of moving parts, you know? So, with the new documentation, and this is a sneak preview here, it's going to be different. The way that it's going to work is, well, first of all, the new documentation is on GitHub. Here it is here. And it does not use a database. Not at all. Instead, it uses just HTML. And you can see that we've got these folders here. In fact, I'll show you in my text editor. If you look on the left, you'll see that I've got these folders and there's 4 numbers at the start. So 0010 introduction, 0020 quick start, and so on, all the way through the documentation. Now these may change, by the way. They almost certainly will actually. But what's happening is the documentation that we've got is ordering, and here's our table of contents, it's ordering the contents according to the number at the start of the name of each directory here. So that's pretty much how that works. And if we click into a chapter, let's say for example controllers. So if we click into that, and in fact if we look at it here, do you see how there's, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different files? So we've got an introduction to controllers and so on. And then we've got examples and a whole bunch of stuff happening here. Now, one of the nice things about the new docs that we're going to be doing, if we take this file multiple classes within one module, right, that's the name of this page. If you look up the top, it says multiple classes within one module. Now, just to show you how this works, if I look here, you can see that there's a file 0031, multiple classes within one module .html. Aha! And if I click in, this is just ordinary, really simple HTML. And that's how it works. So the nice thing is, and the reason why I did it like this, is it means that you could download this repo here from GitHub, and I'll leave a link in the description. You could change some of the pages or even add more pages and then just send it back up to GitHub, and ultimately it's just HTML. Simple as that. So I would encourage you to please do download this repo and mess around with it and see how you get on. Now I was talking about how documentation can sometimes take ages because stuff takes a long time to explain, but let me show you something that we're going to have which is really cool and it took quite a long time. I'm going to do something like, I'll do a little subheadline. I'll just say creating a random string, which doesn't belong here at all, but just to show you, right? So I'm going to just say, in Trongate, you can create a random string with, well, the name of the thing is make rand str, okay? So that's the name of it. It's the make rand string function. Now I'm going to save it, and big deal. It's just an ordinary sentence. Here it is here, okay? However, in the past, I may have, well, maybe someone else doing documentation may have then said, and here's how it works, and here's the arguments that the thing expects, etc. But have a look at this. If we put this inside a span with a class of feature-ref, feature ref, right? It's a feature of the framework, and I'm referencing a feature of the framework. That's all I've done, okay? I'm going to save and refresh. And now you'll see that this goes bold, but we have a little information button here. And the cool thing is we can now click that, and everything we need to know about this feature is right in front of us. It's a very useful and super cool thing. In fact, if you scroll down, I think on this page, one or two of the pages, I think I've actually used it here and there. And it just makes the documentation so much nicer. Let me see if I can find an example here. So something like, let's see. Here's a good example. So this is an example of displaying data inside a view file, or passing data from a controller to a view file. And you can see here that I'm just saying hello name. By the way, I'm taking my own name off of this, and I apologize for that. You're not going to see my name anywhere pretty much with the Trongate YouTube channel and the documentation. It's just a relic from the past. But in any event, here's a little alert. Extreme caution should be used, blah, blah, blah. In those scenarios, it's advisable to use the out function. I'm going to click, and there is the out function. And by the way, to close this, I can press escape, or I can click here, or I can click here, or I can even click off of the modal body area. So these things are going to be super useful, and they're going to really, really speed up the documentation. I think they're going to make the documentation outstanding, actually. Now, there are two parts of this documentation that need to be done before it's perfect. First of all, some of the pages are good. I mean, I've done up to and including views, so I'm happy with all of this stuff. But everything after views, so from assets onwards, is just garbage. This is all going to be getting changed. It's all garbage, but at least it gives us a little guide. The thing that I'm really hoping that I can ask you, hopefully, for a little bit of help for, well, not hopefully ask you, I am asking you, and I'm inviting you to come on board and help. And the thing that I think the whole documentation and even the framework is going to either fall or leap upon is the reference guide here. Trongate API reference. If I click into helpers, string helpers, do you remember the ones that I just showed you? Make rand string, here it is here, and out, here it is here, okay? So the way that this works, when we go, you know, have a span and we have a class of URL title, let's say. Oh, pardon me. It's a class of feature ref. I hope you were paying attention. And then you'd put in the name of the function, right? So URL title. So just to show you again, if I go like that, see how we've got that, okay? So the way that this works is it's reading from the API reference, and this is the part where we really need help. I've added a few of them, but there's still loads of gaps everywhere. I mean, just look at this. There's gaps here, there, and everywhere. So how do we make this work, and how do we build these cool little things. How does it happen? And by the way, this is reading from those automatically. Well, the way that we do it is we ask for a little help from ChatGPT, and we get ChatGPT to generate the HTML snippets that get used in those API reference things. I let myself down there. So if I look inside string helpers, you can see make rand. Sure, it's just HTML. There's out, same thing, just HTML. And the way that you do this is something like the following. Here is the Trongate framework. I'll close this off for simplicity. So this is just an out-of-the-box Trongate framework. If I go into, let's say, my mouse is not working. There we go. If I go into this engine folder, TG helpers, let's say, here's one that says file helper. All right, now that was no use at all. I'm going to ask you to look for functions and methods that have got doc blocks, return types, and type hinting. Now you'll know them when you see them. Here's an example here. See how this one's fully documented, and this is called type hinting, and this is called return types, okay? So when you see one of those, let's say, for example, truncate words, right? So do we have truncate words? We don't. Oh, no, we do. We do. We're going to truncate words. All right, let's find another. Right, nice price. Perfect, okay? So you can see that we've got doc blocks. You can see that we've got type hinting and return types. So here's what we do. We copy this little beauty here. I'm going to copy it. And then I've left a file inside our docs called contributor notes. If you click into here, you'll find a bunch of text that is text that can be added or typed into ChatGPT. You can read it if you want, but it basically says, here's what nice documentation looks like. And then it says, please produce some HTML content of the same format, but for the following function method. So I'm going to just paste that in and then select all of it. And then I'm going to head over to ChatGPT and paste and send. Okay. So ChatGPT is now doing its thing, and it's given us now a beautiful bunch of HTML here. Now, this particular example is part of Trongate's string helper. It's a string helper.php file. So what we would do with our documentation is we would then go into string helpers, and then you'd create a new file, and it's going to be a .html file, but the new file gets the name of the function or method. So in the case of our example here, it's called nice_price. So nice_price.html. And then I'm going to just paste in this HTML that ChatGPT has produced. So I've copied it. I'm going to paste in and then save. One thing I'll say, see when it does this space here at the closing just me being a perfectionist, but bring that up like that, because it does do an annoying extra line if you don't, okay? So let's save it. And now I'm going to go back to the docs and hit refresh. And now you can see that we've got a thing here that says nice price, and it's read the description and everything. And if we click, there it is. And hopefully it's okay. So, having now basically loaded or added this thing onto the documentation, now it means that if I go to, let's say this page here, routing and overview, I'll just demonstrate this. So that would be in this one and in here. And I'm just going to say something like, check out the, so remember, it's a span with a class of feature ref, and then you just say the name of the thing. So check out the nice price function, and I'll save it. So if we refresh, now we've got this thing here, and we can click and it's all right in front of us. It's fantastic. So that, and thank you for sitting through all of that, but that's the thing that I think we really need the most help with. You can see how this whole system works. And the idea is we're looking for any functions or methods that have this type of format here, where we've got doc blocks and so on. I'm not going to do it with other types of functions for the moment. And by the way, there are parts of this framework that are going to be changed to this type of format, but we're not quite there yet. But what I'm asking is, would you be able to go through some of this documentation, see if you can find these little beauties, and using the techniques I've just shown you, maybe see if you can add a few of these onto our documentation here. Any help that we can get is appreciated, and I'm going to be accepting probably every single serious pull request. So even if you just change a comma, even if you just notice a typo, even if you have a suggestion that's rubbish, I'm probably going to accept the pull request and then change it, because I want to have as many contributors as possible when it comes to Trongate. It cannot be the David Connolly Roadshow. We already have a whole bunch of contributors here who have contributed to the main framework. I'd like to see as many as possible, you know, and GitHub is having a slow day, but you get the idea. So I'm going to send this thing up to, that's the documentation. I'm going to send it up to GitHub, and I'm inviting you to have a go at this. It would really, really help out. And then once we have all of that stuff taken care of, then it means that we can quickly nail the rest of the documentation. We'll write it properly. I'll take any mentions of me out of the documentation. Who knows, maybe we won't even mention Laravel. Let's try and be professional here. And then with the documentation done, it means that finally I can get some time, and perhaps with your help we can make this learning zone really, really good, you know? Okay, so that's that. Thanks again for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.